Yeah, the grades are all shit though. They're like ones.
Yeah, I don't care about grades. No,
I don't give a shit.
I don't either.
I don't want to spend that kind of money on it.
The coolest thing about having a jacked up book is you don't have to care about having a jacked up book, right? So you can actually
I
look
put it
at
in
it.
the frame and it makes me happy, and
That's it. Well, that's it. You know, that's right.
Hey guys, welcome to Inside Comics with George Michail. Really quick, if you like this kind of content, subscribe and tell a friend about it. I'm really psyched today. I've got the writer-artist team of John Durgin and Joel VanPatten. Thanks so much for being on the show, guys.
Well, thank you for having us.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having us. Pretty psyched. So thanks, George.
So you guys have a new book out on Kickstarter right now. It's called Yule, and looks super cool. And I'm wondering, since I've got a writer and an artist on the show today, we could talk about collaboration and kind of how did you guys find each other and how did you connect to work on this project together?
Yeah, so Joel and I work together at our day jobs, and we just so happened we used to sit next to each other in the office, and you know, his paintings were hanging up all around the office with his fine art stuff that he did. He knew I was into art, so we hit it off with that. So and he also knew I wanted to write. I used to talk about that all the time. I was always sitting there reading horror novels on my lunch breaks, and you know, then COVID hit. We got stuck working from home, and he hit me up, you know, to see if I wanted to collaborate on a comic book. Asked if I had any ideas for a story, and I actually was starting to write Yule as a novel, at least attempting to. I had like 20 pages in, and as soon as he said that, I just, you know, it clicked. You know, this story is so much better as a comic book. There's so much we can do with this, and so that's how it all started, and here we are.
And Joel, so you work as an artist, mostly painting. So is this book painted?
You know, not in the traditional sense, not analog, right? So it's all digital, but I think you'll see a lot of that kind of look and feel go into that. There's a lot of using the digital water brush tool, using the airbrush tool, those kind of things. I'm not just sitting there with solid colors. I mean, some of the panels do have that, but man, if I had the time, I would absolutely love to fully analog paint a book like Alex Ross style. You know, maybe that's something we get to that point. You know, maybe at least doing the covers and things like that. But yeah, it'd be super cool to do like a huge, you know, oil painted canvas for each page would be sick. I think that'd be a great project to do. But I mean, you're talking maybe a month a page at that point, you know, so it's a big undertaking, right, to get that done. But yeah, it's on the radar. But yeah, just traditional digital application at this point right now.
And how did you think that Joel could visualize this story?
I can actually tell you exactly the moment. He might even remember this, but he sent me a picture of this werewolf-looking beast that he just sketched out, and we had already been talking about doing a comic, but that was the first time when he sent that. Everything up to this point, you got to remember, like, I've seen his fine art, so it's realistic paintings and you know, sports paintings, landscapes, etc. So when he sent this werewolf, I was like, oh, okay, we're doing this. Like, I realized, you know, and there's some creatures in the first book, so I almost was like, just use that image for the creatures. It's awesome. But yeah, I threw the storyline by him, and at this point, it was pretty high level. I was still pretty much outlining it, you know, at that point. It's expanded into so much more since we started collaborating, but yeah, that image, that werewolf picture, that was what did it for me.
And what program do you use when you're doing your digital art?
I love the Clip Studio right now for that one. I do their monthly subscription thing. I was using their old Manga Studio 5, which is going way back, and that had no cloud base to it, so you have to remember to save. And I was using a Mac that was like on its last legs, man. And we had some real close calls where we're like, this thing is dying. And we thought we lost files at one point. I had visions of redoing, you know, 12 pages and stuff. So I upgraded my gear and switched over to the new Clip Studio and the monthly subscription. And it's all cloud-based and it saves automatically. And it's been perfect. I haven't found a better program for that yet.
I love this idea of like, you know, two coworkers coming together to make a book. has working together on this project like changed things for working wise, or are you getting
No,
along
so
with it?
that's the crazy thing is we weren't even on the same team. We didn't work in the same department, but we worked we work in finance. So like we have different types of jobs there, and we just happened to sit across from each other. It was just pure coincidence that two guys that were digging art hardcore and had that creative mindset just happened to sit next to each other. So Joel says he feels like it was fate, because we don't even talk about our day job really with each other because we're not even in the same department. So it really has no impact on that whatsoever, especially now that we're still home. So
You guys are just talking comics and art and horror, just
yeah.
kind of, and yeah,
Being
awesome.
good, productive employees, right? Yeah. Yeah.
Can you tell me? Can you give me like the elevator pitch for Yule? Like, what is this book about?
Yeah, so Yule follows an 8-year-old boy named William Sheldon. William is named after my son, since he's kind of what got me thinking about the whole concept. And so Will finds this ancient device called the Kasi. It's this cube that Santa used to actually use to suspend time to deliver gifts around the world in a single night. So he finds it in the back of an antique shop. We don't know in issue 1 why it's there, but he finds it. He buys it for $1 because he thinks it looks cool. Later on, he triggers it in a fit of rage and actually activates it and teleports himself to this unknown dimension between home and the North Pole. So that's what gets him into this world. He wakes up in a field of snow and a snowstorm, dark woods, and hears all these noises in the woods. And that's where issue 1 gets you to. Bigger picture, long term, it is a good versus evil plot. There's an evil half elf that's hell bent on getting the Kasi. He has his own backstory as to why he wants it, but really, Will needs to get it to safety. Needs to get home, save Christmas, save the world, and also something I really haven't mentioned on any of the interviews we've done. What's deeper with it is he has to overcome his anger issues because the Kasi feeds off emotion. So he's going to run into situations in future issues where his anger gets him teleported to locations that he probably wouldn't want to be. So
That's great. I really like the idea of this device that freezes time for Santa Claus to be able to do what he does, because that's the big question about Santa Claus is how does he get it all done in one night?
Right.
So yeah, that just makes sense to me. I don't know.
It also has time travel and dimension traveling too. It's a pretty powerful device. So it's not anything you could really think of with time. It probably has something to do with that, suspending it, traveling through time, dimension hopping, etc. So
Joel, this book looks pretty gritty, and like there's monsters and there's creatures in there too. What kind of characters did you have to design for the book?
Yeah, it was pretty fun to come up with everything. Also challenging too, right? It's not like I'm taking over an existing title, so that certainly took some time for that. But yeah, the main villain in this book is I call it a smoke dragon. So he's pretty cool, and not to give too much away, but the smoke dragons are basically hired by the evil elf to go get Will. They're what we call keepers of the realm in the book, so they kind of sense that he's coming, that he's in this realm, and they're going after him. It's kind of gnarly to draw them beating up on a 8-year-old. I guess it's kind of fun. You see some of the panels inside the book are interactive panels. I like that too, where the gutters and things are in play. So you might see them be affected by what's happening in the scene. Artistically wise, it's cool too. As I shared this on a couple other shows, is that the book actually gets progressively darker as it goes through on purpose. It's a subtle thing. If you notice that it starts off nice and bright on the panels and they're all nice and orderly with squared corners, but then when he starts entering the realm, everything just falls apart, and that's exactly the feel that I wanted. And you might look at some of this and go, man, this narration flow is weird, or this is whatever, and that's all intentional because that's part of the art that I want it to feel awkward and clunky at times because he's going through the same experience. So it's pretty cool, but it was very art driven as opposed to dialogue driven in issue 1. Issue 2, we're going to have a lot more dialogue, so it's going to be more of what's going on and why he's there and how he got there.
Awesome. Yeah, and I can't wait to dive into this book. Yule's on Kickstarter right now, and I encourage everyone to search it out. There's a link to the project in the description of this video, so go ahead and click that link and go learn more about the project and back to Yule. John and Joel, I want to thank you for being on Inside Comics, and we'll catch you next time, guys.
Thank you for
Peace.
having us.
Yeah, thanks, George.